Sedlicic. On deck, we have Ashton Gruber, and next is Jeremy Agosto.
Saturdays are movie night at my home. A few months ago, my mother and I watched Relentless, the movie. When I was watching the movie, I realized the guy's attitude and behavior, going after his vision and dreams, really caught my attention. For even when all the odds were stacked against him, he never gave up. When he barely won, he tried hard to double up the game. And this is how we have Relentless After the One. Let's talk about Abraham for a minute. Abraham was an example of being relentless after the one. He was a man relentless in his love for the one and only Lord. In Genesis 22, verse 2, God called upon Abraham and instructed him to take his one and only son to the land of Moriah and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which the Lord would show him. Abraham even chopped wood for a burnt offering of his son, as instructed by the Lord. As an obedient servant, Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son to please the Lord. For even when Abraham's faith was being tested by God, he was relentless to obey the Lord at whatever cost. Most people today, if God asks them to take their only child, whom they love to death, and offer them as a sacrifice, they wouldn't comply with God's command, for they wouldn't believe God would ask them to do such a thing. However, our love for God and doing His will must be a relentless one, regardless of the price. When I was just 2 years old, my father left my mother for another woman, and never came back or called, not even to see me. But I always wanted to see my father. My dream and vision was to have a father and son relationship with my dad, like the other kids had. And I used to pray for my dream to become a reality. So I used to call my dad, tell him how much I loved him, to ask him how his day was, and to see what was happening in his life. Even if he didn't want to answer my calls or call me back, I was relentless in building a relationship with my dad. And I was not willing to give up, because I used to hear a voice tell me to call my dad, to tell him how much I loved him, ask him how his day was, and to see what was happening in his life. When I was 9 years old, after 7 years without seeing my father, he came to Florida. God restored my parents' love and marriage, and I got to spend and enjoy 3 wonderful years with my father. Yes, just 3 years. For my father did the same thing to my mother, and once again left us. I began to question God, why? Why did this happen to me again, after you answered my prayers? And God's answer was, where would you be if your father have left you? I thought about what God told me, and then I realized if it wasn't for the trials I faced, I wouldn't be on fire for the one as I am today, and I wouldn't have met people that have taught me and guided me along the way. Even though my father is no longer in our lives, I thank God for the 3 wonderful years I spent with my parents together. And I don't lose faith that someday, somehow, I will be able to spend good times with my dad again. Today I realized the voice telling me to call my dad was the voice of God, and having my father for a little while was God answering my prayers. In Psalms 27, verse 10 says, "For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in." Even if I don't have my earthly father to spend time with, or talk to me when I'm going through a difficult time, I have my heavenly Father that is always there for me, to talk to me, to lead me, to guide me, and to love me forever. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake, it says in Psalms 23, verse 3. For even when I am drowning, I will keep my faith and trust in the One, for He will never let me drown. Being relentless for the One has taught me that life is just a test. We will always be faced with Him. So, I have a question for you. Are you relentless after the one?
Yeah, baby. Good job, Bobby. Love you.
Thanks, Mom. I just forgot part of the beginning.
It's okay. I didn't notice. I didn't notice that.
It's because there was no doubt in my mind.
Mm.
Great pauses, excellent.
Thank you.